Why did games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age Veilguard fail, where other games like Metal Gear Solid 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 thrived? In this video, I'm going to look at it from a purely character perspective, why it failed due to characters and tie-ins to other games. Now, in a game or game series, people of course get invested in the story and the gameplay and the world building, but what people mainly get invested in is the characters. The character of the game is so important, and the main character is obviously one of the most important. Now, new standalone games like Cyberpunk brought an absolutely incredibly gripping and really just well done cast, as well as a great protagonist in V. Obviously, the romances in Judy, Panam, and others, as well as the characters in general, are just absolutely exceptionally done. This just shows how important character development is to a game. Now, in video game series, I think the supporting character and the main character are really what helps a game have that initial foot in the door with long-time fans. So Metal Gear Solid 5, for example. Now, I agree with this. It's one of the best games ever made. I love it. But it's also one of the worst Metal Gears in respect that it's probably a better game than all the Metal Gears, but in terms of as a Metal Gear, it's worse because you're not really, being an assassin, a stealth operative. It's similar with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's an unbelievable game, but quite a poor Assassin's Creed. Now, the reason that Metal Gear Solid 5 works is the story is absolutely incredible. That is one of the reasons. The gameplay is brilliant, so they have that at least. But also, Big Boss is still a very endearing character, and you have returning characters who have big roles like Ocelot. So it ties in for old fans, which is important. It has a great protagonist, but also it is propped up, the weaknesses in these characters are propped up by exceptional gameplay. But the fact that you have the old character returning at least gets its foot in the door with returning fans. Although this still wasn't too popular with returning fans. Now, you like to see across a series, your choices have impact and your choices build up and the world change and the characters develop with your choices. Now, in Metal Gear, it was different because it's very weirdly done. It's not in chronological order. But in a game like Dragon Age, for example, all stories are separate, but characters do cross over. You can see the development of Leliana and Morrigan from 1 to 3 as they appear in 1 and 3 in, obviously, Origins and Inquisition, with minor appearances for Leliana in 2. But Alistair and Nora, all these characters are mentioned in 2, they come back in 3, and it's brilliant world building and ties it all up. And if you feel like your choices from Game 1 have reverberated through to Game 3, the reason that Veilguard failed as a game is, Rook is a character we had no connection to, but the Inquisitor and Hawk were also a character we had no connection to. The issue is it felt like a totally separate world, and the gameplay and story was not good enough to push it up like it did with Metal Gear. The big issue with Dragon Age Veilguard is the fact that, your companions are just, they're not relevant to, the previous story. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if they brought back returning characters, with big or small or whatever roles, but no, they're reduced to just absolutely minor characters. And it's very similar with Mass Effect. People cared about Shepard's story throughout Mass Effect. That's one of the big things, how your Shepard develops and how you have shaped your Shepard, as well as his relationships with the characters like Liara, Ashley, Caden, Miranda, all the characters in the game, the romances, they're just companions. Your relationship with these characters and how they developed is what made the game so brilliant and so endearing. And so people went into Andromeda, obviously Shepard, not going to spoil it, but he wasn't in the game and nor was any of his companions. So that was a big issue for long-time fans. The gameplay wasn't amazing itself, nor was the story, but it was all right. Same with the Veilguard. They're both decent games. They're just very, very poor in their series. As a standalone, the Veilguard probably would have done all right. As a standalone, Andromeda would probably have done all right. But if you look at their place in the story, it's like they've just been chucked in there randomly for no reason. They've just been thrown into the story with the name Mass Effect, with the name Dragon Age, without actually having that much of a tie to the story itself. And that's one of the big issues, in my opinion, with the games and why they don't succeed. You're just not connected. I'm not really bothered about the new characters in Andromeda, about the new characters in Veilguard. I want to find out about my choices in the previous games, the characters I've spent hundreds of hours with. And Red Dead Redemption 2 did this, in my opinion, perfectly. Again, it's not chronologically done, but you go back in time. Now, everyone loved John Marston. Everyone still does love John Marston. But I remember when Red Dead 2 was announced, you weren't being John Marston, you were being Arthur Morgan. People were very annoyed. They were like, well, why are we playing with this random guy? I want to play as John. But the character was so well written. It was so incredibly done that people just didn't care by the end. They were like, yeah, I love John, I love Arthur. But also, the original characters, a lot of the original characters came back into the game. Now, Red Dead is a bit of an anomaly in the respect that the relationship with the characters totally flipped. So in Red Dead 1, Javier, Bill, and Dutch are all villains, whereas in Red Dead 2, they're all beloved camp members. Well, apart from Bill. But anyway, the character writing is so well done. So what I'm saying is, amazing writing can help and kind of negate this character impact in games like Red Dead and Metal Gear, as long as returning characters are brought back and done like justice. The issue with Andromeda and the Veilguard is not only was the gameplay and story not insanely strong enough to carry it up, the returning characters just weren't there. I mean, Andromeda was more tough because of the ending of the game, but Dragon Age of Veilguard really should have incorporated it. But to me, characters are what are the most really defining part of any game. Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, I remember the characters more than the gameplay. I remember the setting. Obviously the setting is very important, that is probably equally important, but the characters of the games are ridiculously important. The reason Cyberpunk is one of my favourite games of all time, well, it's actually my second favourite, and the reason Red Dead is my favourite, is the characters are unbelievable in both of them. They feel very real and you get to know them. So in a Red Dead 3, for example, you'd want to still see some of the characters from the gang. That's why it would really make sense if they went, before Red Dead 2, they went back and back and back, so you could see the characters, because we want to see these characters, we want to know more about them. It's same with Cyberpunk 2. It would not make too much sense, in my opinion, if they got rid of V. And The Witcher is a prime example of this. Witcher 1, 2, and 3 are Geralt's story. You want to know about Geralt and his relationship with Ciri. Geralt and Ciri are two big characters. That's all you really care about, as well as, of course, Triss, Yen, so many other characters which are vital to the story. And the reason Witcher does it so well is not only is Geralt the main protagonist and Ciri vital in every story, but all the characters are brought back and expanded throughout the story. It's the same as what Mass Effect did. They did it so well at bringing characters back, at keeping the protagonist the same, but also making the characters that returned just really complete and make it feel like you're continuing their story and seeing how they grow and evolve. Especially with Triss, for example, in The Witcher, you see how she evolves completely throughout this. And so I think that is the staple of what makes an incredible series and an incredible game in a series, is the characters returning. Witcher 4, there won't be an issue if Ciri is the lead and Geralt comes back as a supporting character, but Ciri's the main character, and you still see Yen, and you still see Triss, and you still see all those characters. No one's going to care, because you're still getting those characters. It'd be like Red Dead 2. If the writing is good enough, no one's going to care you're not playing as Geralt, and Ciri is as vital to the story as Geralt is, in my opinion, as someone who's played the games and loves them. But anyway, this is kind of a very long video on my opinion on characters, and I think this shows characters are so vital to any game. I mean, I love Mass Effect, Fallout, Dragon Age. A game I've been playing recently is Baldurs Gate 3, and the characters in that game are absolutely exceptional. Baldurs Gate 3, by the way, has one of the best cast of characters I've ever seen. They're so well voice acted, the companions are so well done, you really get to know the characters. I'll be honest, the Baldur's Gate 3 characters are up there with, for me, Dragon Age, Red Dead, and Cyberpunk for the best set of characters. I think they probably do rank as number one. I mean, Shadowheart, Lae'zel, Gale, Halsin, Karlach, Astarion, all of them are just incredible characters. The side characters are brilliant. The NPCs are actually thoroughly well voiced. Honestly, Baldur's Gate 3, I could do a whole separate video on how much I love Baldur's Gate 3 and the characters in Baldur's Gate 3. But I think that is the staple of an amazing game, is how well done and written and voiced the characters are. It's why Mass Effect, the original games, still hold up so well today. It's why Dragon Age still holds up so well today. Because the characters are absolutely incredible. They're done so well, they're written well, they're voice acted well. Everything about them, how they progress, their relationship with the main character, all of it is so well done, and I think that is what transcends generations of games. the gameplay in the original Mass Effect and original Dragon Age is pretty poor by modern standards. Same with Red Dead 1. Same with New Vegas. But the characters and the writing is what carries it through and what makes me play the games. You know, I got into Dragon Age and Mass Effect in the last, you know, Mass Effect this year, 2025, really. And Dragon Age 2024, 2023, 2022. These games were from 2007, 2008, 2009. Same with New Vegas. I played that in 22 and 23. And what held up for all of those games, what stands the test of time, is the characters. And the characters is what makes a great series and will continue a game into the future. Anyway, very waffly video, very long, very confused, very muddled. I just want to talk about how much I love characters in video games and how important they are to franchises and series success. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this kind of different video to my usual content. I might start making more yap videos like this where I just talk about games that I love. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.